Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasso and welcome to the 12 Games of Christmas. This is a series we do on this channel, the Dice Tower, each year where we talk about games from different categories, giving you ideas of games to buy for other people or yourself this coming Christmas. We try to pick games that are in stock. We looked at Amazon, we looked at a fantastic gaming store, GameNerds.com. Definitely you want to check them out, or maybe sometimes from the publisher themselves. Before we get into today's list, I want to say thanks to our sponsor, the World Series of Board Gaming. It's my favorite con I went to last year that wasn't run by us here at the Dice Tower. It was a blast. This convention is being run from September 24th to the 28th, 2023. And this is a tournament where you're going to go and you can play and enter different tournaments and win up to $25,000. And I know this because I saw them hand the check out last year. But it's not just tournament play. There is open board gaming, extra libraries, smaller tournaments, and of course, you get the fun of being in Las Vegas itself. It's definitely worth checking out. We have a link in the description below where you can learn more about it. Today's topic for our games is cooperative games. Games where you get along with everybody else. You're working together. I'm a big fan of these types of games. Some people don't like the competitive spirit. I just was mentioning the World Series of Board Gaming, and I like to watch people compete on a high level, but I also like to play games just for fun and sometimes all working together as a team. So here we go, 12 games that we think are worth your while. Let's get started.
All right, let's start off the cooperative list with Endangered. Endangered is a game where players are collectively trying to save animal species who are, as you might expect, endangered. And it is a game that is built around a dice placement system where every player is going to be playing as a unique character that has some kind of special ability that helps them in their quest to save these animals. You're doing this through placing dice, and there's a nice, simple but thinky dice placement system that goes along with it. And the reason that the game is kind of unique in this space is that you can play different scenarios, and each animal, each endangered animal that you are trying to save has its own unique scenario that is going to change up a little bit how the game plays, keeps it fresh. There are a number of different animals within the base box. There are also some expansions that have come out. If you kind of explore the base game animals, you can go on to some of the expansions. But a really solid cooperative game with a fantastic theme that I think a lot of people can get behind. Who doesn't want to save endangered species of animals? It's a very lovely looking product as well with some nice art, nice components. Everything comes together very well for Endangered.
All right, next up we have Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. This is going to be a deck building game in which you're going to go through the different years of the school, unlocking different boxes. If you know somebody that is into this theme, that's really into this IP, likes Harry Potter's, either read the books or see the movie, this board game is going to bring that experience to life. As I said, you're going to go through and be unlocking different boxes throughout each year, which gives you access to additional spells, additional characters, power-ups, things like that. I don't really want to spoil it, but you definitely feel that your character is getting stronger, more powerful, learning more through school, but then applying that as you're ultimately trying to cooperate to take down the Death Eaters. A lot of fun to be had here. The game definitely starts simple, which makes it really approachable to people that are into this IP, but then also gets difficult pretty quickly, where you really have to cooperate, just really leading to some exciting moments as you work together to take down the Death Eaters. Highly recommend Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
Let's talk about Marvel Zombies. In this one, you are going to be taking on the mantle of superheroes, defending yourselves and everyone else from a plague of zombies. The problem is, well, some of your friends have been turned as well, so you're going to be facing a zombie Scarlet Witch and maybe a zombie Doctor Strange. Very interesting idea, of course, taking some of that Marvel lore and turning it on its head a little bit, giving you a different flavor, a different style. Very much about working together, but you're going to feel heroic. You are going to have a good time clearing out waves of zombies. This is one, if you want a lot of cinematic action, that I would certainly recommend. It's one that is going to play punchy, it's going to play quick, it's going to give you a lot of action. I think that's something to keep in mind if that's the kind of game experience you are looking for or are looking to share with someone who is really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the comic books.
The next cooperative game we have is MicroMacro. This is basically a mashup between Sherlock Holmes and Where's Waldo? There's this huge map, and it's got all these different people doing different things in this great big city, and you follow them around. So it's not like one frozen time frame, but instead you can actually see the people and what they do. Hey, where did they come from? Where do they live? Where do they work? You know, how did they get to the dead body and where did they leave from? It's very cool. We play a lot with our daughter. You do have to make sure that it's age-appropriate content because there's different scenarios. But it's absolutely great cooperative game, tons of fun, and there's lots of stuff to look at and lots of story.
Next, I'm recommending Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This is a fun cooperative game based on Pandemic, one of the most popular cooperative games out there. But if you haven't played Pandemic, this is a great game to get into anyway. This has the fun Star Wars theme. You get to play very popular characters like Mace Windu, Ahsoka Tano, and even some of the other lesser-known Jedi, but you know you want to be Obi-Wan. You run around, you slice up those clankers, and you're trying to complete these missions, and then ultimately defeat the villain. This has some nice, fun twists that are different enough from the base game of Pandemic if you've played that a lot, and if you haven't played it, it's still so fun. If you know a Star Wars fan, and not even necessarily a gamer, this is a great pick, so I'm recommending Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Next up, I'm talking about Horrified: American Monsters. This is a great pick if you love cryptids, if you like the mysterious nature of things like Mothman, Bigfoot, the Chupacabra. In this game, you are going to be characters trying to capture these creatures, discover where they are, and save folks around town from being in the wake of their destruction and mystery. So it's going to be you moving characters around, moving yourself around, collecting various things in order to deploy your defenses against these characters and ultimately defeat them. It's a fairly straightforward game, not too complicated, one that certainly can fit for mixed age groups. Certainly you can bring in the kids and play with them as well. They might need a little help, but it's a fairly straightforward game, and it'll give you a feeling of pickup and delivery as you go grab these folks who are feeling a little lost around town and take them where they need to go to get them out of the path of danger. Very interesting, again, if you like all of these monsters, you like the idea, and you want something that's a little bit spooky without being scary, Horrified: American Monsters is a great pick for that.
All right, this next one is Marvel United X-Men. Marvel United is a great cooperative game that has all sorts of different Marvel characters. The X-Men version is the newest version that has come out and adds in all those classic X-Men characters. You can play Wolverine and Professor X against like Juggernaut and Magneto, and it gives you just interesting like lineup changes that you can have to play the game. Definitely working together to try to like save civilians, different scenarios with the different villains you face off against, and lots of cooperations if you play out these different cards kind of in a row, kind of copying the last card played. So very cooperative play, trying to figure out how to time things right and work together as a team. So another great cooperative one, Marvel United X-Men.
Next up is The Loop. The Loop is one of the quirkier, stranger cooperative games that I've ever played thematically. It has a lovely, vibrant look to it that goes along with this kind of wacky theme. In the game, you are agents that are trying to defeat a evil Dr. Foe who is causing all kinds of problems in the space-time continuum. And you're doing this with a bit of a time travel theme where you are trying to solve these kind of problems, missions that are coming out. In the center of the game board, there's this really, really cute little cube tower. And as you place cubes into the tower, it's going to either spread out some problems that Dr. Foe has been causing around, or some energy things that can help you, energy cubes that can help you as well. It has a relatively standard cooperative game structure, things that maybe you've seen before where bad things happen and you try to deal with the bad things while also trying to complete missions. But one of the biggest hooks in the game is this idea of a loop, which is where the title comes from. The idea of a loop is that in the game you are playing cards from your hand to take actions, and when you use those cards, you turn them to the side, which means that they are exhausted. However, you can spend energy cubes to unexhaust particular cards to let you use those actions again. And as you string these together, you can get increasingly powerful turns that actually allow you to do some damage to Dr. Foe, because at the beginning of the game, you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. It's usually these games come down to the wire in The Loop, for me, I found anyway. A really clever theme, a fantastic look, that really cool cube tower. All of these things come together to make The Loop really stand out in the cooperative game genre.
All right, and now we have Spirit Island New Horizons. This is a standalone entry point to the game. Spirit Island is one of the most cooperative games I've ever played. You really have to work together. There's not a whole lot of alpha playering in this one. If you know someone that's a little bit aggressive in their style like that, as every character is very asymmetrical, but you really have to rely on that asymmetry in order to be able to protect the land, which ultimately you're trying to do. You're trying to protect it from these invaders, protect your land, scare them off, destroy them, get rid of them in whatever way you can, and it's going to take a lot of collaboration and group effort. New Horizons specifically is a great entry point because this can be a really intimidating game because of that asymmetry, because of the complexity of the rules. While the rule set is still the same in this base game, it's taking out Ghost of Cardboard components, again, just taking that table presence down a little bit, making it a little more approachable, as well as the 4 spirits that come in it are specifically designed for that entry player. They're still really powerful, so you don't feel like you're just scrapping along. So you feel like you have that contribution, but yet it's very smooth in its mechanisms and in the implementation of those, not very high in complexity. So a great entry point for someone who likes cooperative games that absolutely requires cooperation to win this game. Spirit Island New Horizons.
In Paleo, you and the other players represent tribes in prehistory trying to, most of the time, just survive. That's your main objective, but of course you are trying to achieve various things as well, represented in the game, by you creating a cave painting. You manage to do that, paint the entire thing, you are going to win. If too many bad things happen, you will of course all perish. The game has a really interesting progression system and feeling and idea, which is very different from a lot of the other co-op games you're going to be hearing about today in this video. In this one, you have this deck of cards in which you can see the backs of these cards, and they might give you a hint as to what's on the front. Perhaps you're going to go by a nearby stream and gather wood or gather food. Go to the mountains, gather stone. But you're not quite sure what's on the front of the cards. The back is just a hint. It's a maybe. You can see the backs of the next 3 cards. You pick one of those, and then you all simultaneously reveal it. But you might run into trouble along the way. You can help each other out. You might need your symbols, your tribes, your various strengths to come together to overcome something difficult, take down a creature, gather some food. And the whole thing just has an interesting push your luck, nice progression to it. The second time through that deck of cards, you're going to be stronger. And the third, stronger still. Really nice build up, very lovely artwork, and an interesting cooperation that is not the usual thing you'll see in many of these other games. So I definitely recommend this one if you are looking for something outside the box.
The next game on the docket is Switch and Signal. If you like logistical games and you like train games, this is definitely the one to pick for this year. It's so much fun as you're working together to get a variety of different color trains that move at different speeds to where they need to be without crashing into each other or running into cities. There's a lot of switches and signals, given the title, where you have to change what route things are going to go in. So it's all about timing and order. Also, what I really love about it is that instead of the game doing a lot of bad stuff to you after you take your turns, instead what it does is it makes the train move. So you're actually even cooperating with the game. If you've planned poorly, it'll mess you up. But if you plan just right and you work on that little, expecting that card flip and how things can lay out, you can do some really cool stuff as you pick up and you deliver these cubes across the board. Tons of fun. Switch and Signal is great.
Our last game we're talking about is Vagrantsong. Vagrantsong has such a unique theme. In this, you and your fellow people wake up in a kind of a cartoon-style world. Think of the old 20s and 30s and 40s cartoons. But you wake up and you're on a train. Where are you heading to? You don't know, but there's lost souls on this train and you are trying to rescue them, or at least beat some sense into them until they realize they need to be saved. So it's kind of like maybe a dungeon crawl or a boss battler, but it's a really cute theme, and then the gameplay and the story involved are very unique and fun. You are pulling tokens from a bag, which will show how the different characters move on the board, but you yourself have special abilities, and you're working hard to work together to accomplish various goals as you navigate the different train cars, deal with different events that will happen, and then just do some combat and fighting the boss. It all comes together in a really well-designed, just fascinating, engrossing story that I very much recommend. This is a game that the player counts, I especially like it with 2 players, but you can play with more, and you're just, when you're done and you play through many, many missions on here, you feel like you played through a really fun, almost Cuphead type story. It's not necessarily as silly as Cuphead, just a lot of fun. So definitely check out Vagrantsong. And that's that, folks. Those are 12 great cooperative games. We definitely recommend you check them out. There's plenty of places you can find them. Have a wonderful, wonderful Merry Christmas. We want to say thank you to World Series of Board Gaming for sponsoring this video. We'll see you all next time here on 12 Games of Christmas on the Dice Tower.